We have 1 minute. It's 10 now.
Whenever you are ready, Soros, we are live.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sybil Smith, and I would like to introduce to you President of the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, President Janice Baker.
Thank you, Sybil. Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. Thank you for joining us this morning. As Sybil said, I am Janice Baker, President of the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. On behalf of the 227 members, I welcome you to this important conversation, mental health. We're going to talk about some things today, that much needed conversation that we need to have today, self-care. I'm looking forward to the speakers that's going to bring us their knowledge and help us out. I got my pen and paper ready to take some notes. Again, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I hope to get some questions from you in the chat so I can see what you're thinking. Again, welcome to this important conversation, mental health. At this time, Erica Moore, Second Vice President.
Good morning, everyone. I am Erica Moore. I am the Second Vice President at St. Louis Metropolitan Alumni Chapter, and my charge is over program planning and development. And one of my committees is our Physical and Mental Health Committee. So I want to commend our chairs and co-chairs, so Sybil Smith and Cheryl Harmon, for the work that they have done in putting together this all-important conversation around mental health. So I want to thank you all for the good work that you all are doing to bring this information to our community. So all of those that are watching this morning, you are in for a treat. So I hope that you have your notes ready to be taken and your body's ready to move, because we're going to do a little movement with some yoga this morning as well. So again, I want to welcome you all to our conversation today. As Sarah Baker said, please put those questions and thoughts in the chat. We will be monitoring that to make sure our guest speakers are able to answer all of your questions. So without further ado, Sybil Smith, welcome everyone, and let's get started.
Okay, the Physical and Mental Health Committee, we focus on maintaining physical and mental fitness and seek to educate women about the high-risk factors that impact negatively upon good mental and physical health. This morning, the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, we present to you Mental Health. Let's talk about it. We bring to you speakers, Dr. Brandy S. Peeples, psychologist, minister, consultant, and self-published author. Tracy Berry Mcgee, licensed professional therapist, international speaker, and consultant. Michaela Mickey Grace Norfolk, founder of We Rise Up for Kids, featured on KSDK, Fox 2 Now, and St. Louis American Shero of the Week. And Catherine Redmond, attorney at law, community activist, and hatha yoga instructor. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one of these presenters. First, we will hear from Dr. Peeples. Her passion is teaching the importance of mental health awareness amongst the African American community. She has published her first book entitled A Journey Towards Purpose and Promise. Dr. Peeples enjoys helping others to live out their dreams. Today, she will speak to identifying and coping with trauma in the African American community. We are honored to present to you Dr. Brandy Peeples. Secondly, we will hear from Mcgee Norfolk. Mcgee's passion is advocating for the marginalized. She founded We Rise Up for Kids to assist our youth to transform the negative impact of being bullied into a victorious opportunity. Her nonprofit provides kids the tools needed to escape negativity and support to thrive after their traumatic experience. We Rise Up for Kids has reached over 3,000 people. Mcgee's goal for her nonprofit is to increase mental health services for underserved youth. It's with great pleasure to introduce 11-year-old fashionista, ballerina, and We Rise Up for Kids founder, Mcgee Norfolk. I also introduce to you Tracy Berry Mcgee. Her passion is to sow seeds into her local, national, and global communities. She is a licensed professional therapist with over 20 years of experience. She is the creator and co-host of Own Your Now, an online talk show which inspires, uplifts, and empowers viewers to define their journey. Mrs. Berry Mcgee is a consultant for Fox 2 News, Girl Scouts, Juvenile Justice, and St. Louis City and County Schools districts, to name a few. Today, she will discuss self-care tips during the pandemic from a mental wellness perspective. We are honored to present to you Tracy Berry Mcgee. Catherine Redmond, attorney at law, will conclude our morning with a mindful yoga experience. As a yoga instructor, her passion is to provide a unique self-discovery experience by creating custom yoga and meditation sessions. As a yoga practitioner and teacher, Ms. Redmond specializes in helping students cultivate a strong yoga and meditation practice. So again, thanks for joining us this morning. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's talk about it. Dr. Peeples?
All right. Good morning, everybody. And I'm going to start off by saying I am excited to have this conversation. Most importantly, excited to be amongst this group of beautiful, intelligent Black women. And I am going to share my screen. Let's see here. And we are going to start, as it was said before, I am very passionate about stigma and talking about mental health issues within the African American community. I am a minister, so just excuse me if I say amen, because sometimes when I'm talking truth here and there, I come out and I have these random amens. So excuse me if I say that from time to time. So I just want to start out with a disclaimer. We are going to be talking about some sensitive issues. So I definitely want that to be said. We will be digging deeper into historical roots of trauma in addition to some stigma. And my goal this morning is to approach the issue from a different perspective. So I may be saying some things you've never heard before. And as it was said before by Soror Baker, please take note, because I'm here to challenge and to stretch your mind. We're going to be talking about different types of trauma, symptoms of trauma, and then I'm going to present to you the ACE study, which is adverse childhood events. And then finally, we will conclude with our healing and resources. So like I said, and I think this presentation came right on time because we are on the cusp of Black History Month. And I just really want you to take a look and just soak in the information on this slide. Right here, this is an article, and I happen to have found it from a St. Louis newspaper. And I believe the date is 1847, and you can't see that, which is fine. But as you see, it's a $200 reward for 5 Negro slaves that were runaways, right? And I have this slide because I really want to highlight the weight of trauma. Because my argument is that within the African American community, a good portion of our traumatic experiences started here, right? And it's something that we don't often talk about. I have here that it is an historical trauma, meaning that this goes back for decades, right? And it's an event that happened to us collectively. Let's keep in mind, we were stolen. Our ancestors were enslaved. They underwent abuse, institutionalized racism, lynching, and then further on from that, disproportionate access to healthcare, education, employment. These are all things, these are the symptoms of trauma. And we have a shared historical trauma, which is slavery. Now, at the bottom of this slide, I have a term. As I was doing my research, I ran across this, and it's actually called Drapetomania, right? And essentially what that is, it was a mental disease that was coined by Samuel Cartwright in 1851. And his theory was slaves were running away, and that was atypical, right? Because they believed back then that plantation owners, they treated their slaves well. You know, so who would want to run away when they're being treated well and housed and cared for? So to run away as a slave, think about that. You want your independence, you want your freedom. Back then, that was seen as abnormal. So even back then, pathology has been associated with Black people. And Drapetomania was just one of those diseases that they thought that we were pathological, we were dysfunctional. And just think about that, running away, you want to be free, that's seen as dysfunctional. So I just wanted to briefly go back to say, this is where we're going. This is where we're starting from. Transgenerational trauma, right? So we're still talking about trauma. So that's like being enslaved, even though we're physically free, it didn't just stop. There were things that continued on, right? And this area of transgenerational trauma is still a developing psychological theory. And it's generally the belief that the trauma experienced by one generation affects the overall health and well-being of future generations, right? So if your parents were traumatized in some way, shape, or form, that in turn affects their parenting, which may also affect their household values. When I thought about this slide, I was thinking of the phrase, what goes on in this house stays in this house, right? I think a lot of Black families have heard that, but what about if you grew up in a home filled with trauma and traumatic abuse? So the pain that goes on in this house, the abuse, the anger, the substance abuse, oftentimes stays in the house, right? And since we're talking about parenting, right? So parents who are traumatized, they may parent from a place of depression or anger or stress. And you as the child, the only thing you can remember was mama was always mad. Mama always had an attitude. Daddy was always drinking. And those type of behaviors get passed on through generations. And these are learned behaviors, right? Now, there are different types of trauma. There is acute trauma, and I think that pretty much is self-explanatory. It's one single event. There's chronic trauma, which is repeated and prolonged. For example, domestic abuse. It may not be one event in the household, but it may be a series of events. Then we have complex trauma, and that's more so the focus for today's presentation. Complex trauma is exposure to varied and multi-layered traumatic events, which are often invasive and interpersonal. So a child could be neglected in the home. In addition, on top of that, they may witness community violence. In addition, on top of that, they go to school and then they may be bullied. So these are all varied and multi-layered events, which in turn end up being complex trauma. Here, I just have a bubble of some of the traumas that we all experience on a day-to-day basis. And what I think from this is that oftentimes we've experienced it so much, we've become used to it, right? That word normalize comes to mind. But I'm here to tell you these things are not normal. Living in extreme poverty can be traumatic. Cyberbullying, fires, racism, serious mental illness, homelessness, violence within the family. We were having a conversation before we started the presentation in which I shared that I work and I do a lot of diagnostic assessments. And in my assessments, I discovered that a lot of the young children that I work with, they come from homes where father isn't present. He's maybe incarcerated or deceased. Mom is struggling with an issue, whether that be substance abuse. In turn, finances become an issue. They're probably parented or raised by grandparents who also struggle with health conditions. Then they live in environments where they hear gunshots on a daily basis. And for them, unfortunately, that's their norm. And when you say, hey, everyone doesn't grow up like that, I've heard from young men that I've interviewed, they say, what? You mean to tell me not everybody in their, not every person has gone to jail? That is somebody's reality that I think that we have forgotten about. So I definitely want to keep that in mind. Some people are living within trauma and they've normalized that to be their reality. So talking about complex trauma, specifically in urban African-American children, I have a quick blurb, and I just bolded some of the things that stood out to me the most. A young lady in college, academically successful. However, she's struggling because she's often tired. She reports having few emotions, some health issues without a clear physical cause. She has come from a neighborhood where there has been shootings and physical assaults. Her mother has been fighting. Her father has been in jail. And then also she has some interaction with the juvenile justice system, and that she was just present when a fight broke out, and then they took her to juvenile detention center. These are commonplace stories. And these are the young women and young men that we often end up interacting with. And then when they act out in school, labels such as ADHD are often thrown onto them, and no one really asks about their traumatic history. Once again, this is just reiterating the point that I said before. Many children with complex traumas, they experience layers. It's not just one event, it's a series of events. These initial traumatic events and the children's experience with them can make them more vulnerable to being re-victimized. So when a child is traumatized, there's a lot of things going on. Their physiology changes, their emotions changes, literally. Their organic brain structure, there is a change, which in turn changes how they think, learn, concentrate, impulse control, all of these things. These types of issues can make you more vulnerable to being re-victimized, but also more, there's an increased risk of you being not diagnosed with a learning issue, increased risk for you to develop substance abuse issues, and other things like that. Here we have the adverse childhood event story, and that's essentially just summarizing what I'm saying. Like I said before, people often say what goes on in this house stays in this house. But with that, people don't talk about the things that they've experienced during their childhood. And those children end up going into adulthood with the issues, right? So they have a percentage here, and it says 67% of the population has experienced at least one adverse event. And then the stress from these traumatic events, like I said before, can change your overall development. And then on a long-term basis, there is a link between childhood trauma, health, and other issues. Like I said before, if you've been traumatized or if you've grown up in a home where you've experienced traumatic events, there is an increased chance for you to develop substance abuse issues, heart issues because of prolonged stress, things like that. So I just have some sample questions. Did you feel like you didn't have enough to eat? Did you ever have to wear dirty clothes? Did you lose a parent through divorce? Did you live with someone who had a mental illness? Did you live with someone who went to jail or prison? So when you think about the questions from this perspective, I can even say, and I can be honest, I'll count myself in, right? So this is what we need to be thinking about. And these are some of the more broad categories that this study examines: overall abuse, overall neglect, and overall household dysfunction. Now moving on, I want to talk about COVID-19 as a collective trauma. So even though we're all experiencing this pandemic, it depends, our experiences depend on our resources and our resilience. So how I respond to this virus may be different from someone else. And as we all know, this virus has had the most impact on African Americans or other underserved communities. And for some, COVID-19 may be acute, chronic, or complex. And I just want to highlight here, someone might say, well, how is this virus, what does this have to do with mental health? Well, here's an example. if this virus, if you get sick, your physical health is compromised. And for some, they don't have the luxury of taking PTO. You know, they work on an hourly basis, and if they can't go to work, then their finances are compromised. Then their lifestyle changes. And then in turn, their mental health is affected. I was just listening to the news this morning, and then they were saying school-age children are more likely to pass away from suicide than COVID-19. Well, why is that? Because they've been isolated and haven't been able to go to school, which has increased their depression. We have been living in a very unique time when we've also experienced some race-based trauma. So I have a picture here that I think pretty much says what I'm thinking. Birmingham, 1963, Ferguson, 2014, and here we have 2020. Years are different, but the picture is still the same. The race-based traumatic stress really refers to the mental and emotional stress that we experience because of bias, discrimination, racism, and things of that nature. Black, Indigenous people of color, they're most vulnerable to this type of stress because we live in this institution based off white supremacy. And then racialized trauma can come as a direct result of experiencing the discrimination, or it's something that you can develop because of vicarious experiences, like seeing things on television. Now, keep in mind, it's not a mental health disorder, but it's just a way to identify the stress that you might be experiencing. There is a very interesting read, and I encourage everyone to look into it. It's called Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder by Joy DeGruy. And she's essentially saying that a lot of African Americans, because of the racial discrimination and things like that, we carry a stress that in turn has affected us generationally, which has resulted in dysfunction. And it's just a really interesting theory. It's a great book. Some race-based stress can look like symptoms of PTSD. So you may also be depressed, angry, have recurring thoughts, chest pains. You may feel it in your body, right? And this is something that we don't typically think about when we talk about racism. You know, oftentimes we can often hear, well, it's all in your head. Well, it's not. Carrying that stress in your body, as this slide says, can impact your spirit, can impact your soul, can impact your mind, your emotions, your memory, your body, you know, and this is a spiritual thing as well. I think that's the part where I'm going to say amen. I'll say amen to myself on that one. And these are just some of the symptoms: negative mood, depression, angry. Oftentimes they want to avoid activities. They don't even want to think about the traumatic stressor. You know, they might start developing substance issues, might have issues with sleeping. And there is some similarities between PTSD and depression and anxiety. This slide just highlights some of those similarities between the two. Now, it's very important, if you want to assist and help someone, make a point to ask them about whatever it is they are experiencing. Because if they can talk about the traumatic event, that will give you an idea of what it is. Is it depression? Is it anxiety? Or is it PTSD? It's very difficult to tease apart those different conditions. And some other mental health issues, like I said, anxiety and depression are pretty correlated with this. I just want to keep in mind and let you guys know this crises can trigger or exacerbate mental health issues. African Americans may be reluctant to seek help because there aren't enough therapists, and the therapists that are in practice may not be culturally competent. In addition to that, and I often work with spiritual and religious groups, sometimes they don't want to seek help because they're demonized within their faith, and they may feel misunderstood, and they may be even perceived as weak or not having enough faith, right? And then also, I'm very passionate about this last point. The pressure of being a strong Black woman can lead to depression. I don't really like that term, strong Black woman, because it denies us the opportunity of being fragile and feminine. And sometimes when you're strong, it's hard to talk about when you're feeling weak. And as I close, I definitely want to talk about that there is healing from trauma. We've talked about all these different things. We've talked about the start of it. We've talked about the middle, and here we are right now. So if you know someone who is experiencing an acute health crisis, meaning they're suicidal now, they want to hurt themselves now, or they want to hurt someone else, definitely call 911. Or there's another fantastic organization, Behavioral Health Response, in which they come to your home and they'll do an assessment in an attempt to help the individual and then possibly transport them to the emergency room. There is also therapy for Black girls, Black Girls Smile, the Black Mental Health Alliance, Melanin and Mental Health, and the last group, which I work with here in St. Louis, Bridges to Care and Recovery. And it's a wonderful group. I work along with the soror, and basically what we do is we go to different churches, right? And we just try to break apart that stigma and normalize mental health issues. But not only that, we arm the parishioners. I've grown up in church, and I know what it's like when you have someone walk into church and maybe they're struggling with a mental health issue. We pray. So we encourage prayer, but we also say, hey, let's pray, and then let's refer that person to counseling. Let's pray, but also let's refer that person and get them linked up with mental health services. I am a firm believer in John 10:10, and it says, I come that they have life and have it to the full. Living a full life means mentally sound, emotionally healthy, physically healthy, right? So we want to keep all these things in mind, because your body, your spirit, and the soul, there needs to be balance. So I hope, I really do hope that you all learned something from that. We are living in distressful times, but just because we're living in distressful times, that doesn't mean we neglect our mental health. And I hope this is the beginning of a conversation that we will continue to have in the future. And with that being said, there is a young lady that is going to follow me, that she is going to talk about mental health awareness, trauma from her very unique perspective. And her name is Mcgee. And I'm really in awe of her because she has her own group called We Rise Up for Kids. So I definitely want to pass the mic on to Sister Mcgee.
Thank you. So when I founded this organization almost 3 years ago, it was focused on kids who experienced bullying and trauma. We would set up different events to it didn't go away, but it helped keep their mind off of things. So now we are training therapists. We are helping them focus on mental health and how important it is to have psych evals, how important it is to actually focus on the one patient and not have cookie cutter therapy, really. We want to ensure their care. We want to pay for therapy. We want to make sure that they have everything they need, because we don't need cookie cutter. We need things that fit them, the person. We are paying for mental health assessments. We are helping underserved youth with serious mental illnesses, since they are often, unfortunately, left untreated, or they don't receive the level of quality care that they really deserve. And just because they have a mental illness doesn't mean they're any different than the rest of us. They deserve the same mental health care that everyone else should get. And so we are back to the therapist. We are helping them dive deeper into what's actually going on, what is like psych evals, as I said, like what is really going on. They need to dive deeper into the issue instead of focusing on the surface. I know a couple of years ago, personally, I didn't have a good therapist. She didn't actually dive deeper. She just focused on the surface, and a lot of the time I didn't even know what I was doing. And so that led to, like after trauma, and having that therapist, that led to me having conversion disorder because the trauma wasn't handled properly. So we are committed to helping and involving all youth, especially youth who are underserved, uninsured, and uninsured, excuse me, for them to have access to quality care. So we are paying co-pays and sliding scale fees for the underserved, for underserved youth, so they can receive mental health care that they need, regardless of their ability to pay. So if a child really needs therapy but they can't afford it, then we will step in and we will help them pay for it. And we do have limited supplies though, so we are focusing on the people who really, really need it. And lastly, I would like to say that any donations would be appreciated towards We Rise Up for Kids, sorry. Any donation at all, because that will help kids like me get therapy, the therapy that they need. Thank you, Ben.
So next we'll hear from Tracy, Vera, Mcgee.
Thank you all for joining us. This has been an awesome experience. Mcgee, you did a great job. You are so informative. You really did show everybody what it looks like for our girls to rise up, for kids and for our community. That is so important. So I'm going to share my slide because I want to get right in and let us continue what this looks like for us to define our mental wellness. It's so important for us to look at the perspective of, yes, we have all experienced trauma, as Dr. Brandy Peeples stated, but it's also important for us to realize, how do we take care of ourselves from a prevention, intervention, and intervention perspective? So let's get this going. So again, I'm Tracy Berry Mcgee, and I'm excited that that we have days like this to really focus on mental wellness. Even though it's raining outside, we are all here sowing some seeds. So let's talk about stress. We talked about it from a traumatic perspective, but we want to also realize that a lot of times these adverse and demanding circumstances, they can overcome us all. And we have to figure out, how do we address it? So I want you all, if you're in the chats or if you're on Facebook, name your stress. Name it first. Let's talk about that. Is it relationships? Is it work? Is it trying to just figure out what's for dinner? Or if it's the kids, it's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love the kids, but it does mean that sometimes it can be overwhelming. Or is it the fact that we have limited time for self? You know, self-care is really important, and we really want to figure out, how do we balance all of this? That was really crucial when I heard Dr. Peeples talk about balance, because I always feel like balance is key. So let's name your stress. If you put it in the chat, that would be great for us all to look at that. The next thing that, I always say, I define me. When it comes to stress, I can choose to let it define me, confine me, refine me, outshine me, or I can choose to leave it behind me. Let's make it clear, society will never define me. We have so many different stressors and traumas that society has put on us, and we cannot allow that to define us. So it's important that we define these things for ourselves. So we need to start now. I say be gentle with yourself, because you're doing the best you can. So many times people are saying, I am so overwhelmed. This is really getting to me. I don't know where to start. So we're going to try to give you some tools to really help you define your now. So as Brandy said, a lot of times as Black women, we do wear the cape, like Superwoman. And we have to realize that Black women die from strokes due to high blood pressure at a higher rate than our white women counterparts. And we know that there's a strong link between high blood pressure and stress. And you can look at that, because it continues to happen in our families. So I always say choose joy, but what does that look like for you? It looks different for everyone, whether it's therapy, mindfulness, yoga. Our soror will work through that with us later on. So stay here. Journaling, music, art, vacations. I love a vacation. I love my family and I love vacations. But you know what? We talk about loving everyone else, but joy starts with self. So a vacation is great as well. Reading or walking. If you know that you know how to choose joy, drop some of those things that you do for self-care as well. So, you know, I'm always saying own your now. Everybody say own your now. Own, basically own and now is the same word. Reclaim your time. Say to the world, I define me, but what does that chapter in your book look like? You know, it's time for us to redefine the moment. So I want to give you some tools. I know I have my journal here and I've been writing, so I hope you guys are taking notes as well. So we're going to get on the wellness bus and talk about it. The love principle. It's going to be really simple. I want to give you 4 simple tips that will help you to really take a hold of this. Okay. So the L is listen to yourself. Listen to yourself means get spiritual with yourself. Start finding ways to either meditate, pray, take a yoga class, take time to breathe in and enjoy the air that you live in, or even create a gratitude journal and sit with your thoughts. This pandemic has allowed us to sit with our thoughts and realize there's some things that we need to let go and some things we need to let flow. But we need to get used to sitting with ourselves and hearing ourselves. That is really crucial. You might not like what you hear, but it really will shift you to a space of like, what do I need to do now? The O is observe yourself. Observe yourself means observe the environment you're in. Is it toxic? Are you getting enough sleep? Are there people around you that you need to let go? Observe your nonverbals. You know, our nonverbals speak very loud. You can tell if a person is having a good day or a bad day the moment they walk in the door. So you need to decide, like, what are my nonverbals saying? What is my children's, my spouse, my partner, the people around me? What are their nonverbals saying? Because right now we can't reach out and touch each other, but we can observe. And we can figure a lot of things out by just seeing when you ask your mother, how are you feeling? They may not say it, but you can see it in their nonverbals. Also, observe how much you're on social media or Facebook. And I call it fake book sometimes because, you know, we can put on a smile and everything will be great because we're good at masking things. Because remember, we have that superwoman cape. But also think about, do I need to take a social media cleansing? Do I need to tap out of everything? Stop, just tap out. Say, take a break and assess what's going on with us and then proceed. And then also observe how your body feels. What are you drinking? What are you eating? How often are you exercising? I'm on calls all the time, so I'm drinking a lot of coffee. Maybe I need to balance it with some tea because you know that caffeine can get to you. The V is validate yourself. Validate, validate, validate. Affirm yourself. Create an affirmation jar or a gratitude journal. Put that card out daily. I'm always talking about affirmations. That's really crucial to say. You know, I see the potential in myself. You know, say that pledge to yourself or create a mantra or a mission statement for your home. Number 2, create a go-to playlist that you start your day out. You know, art your day, I rise. Put that song in the chat. Everybody, if it's a spiritual song, a religious song, you know, an uplifting song, even if it's like a rap song, whatever it is that gets you motivated every day, you need that. And then sing. I didn't say sing because everybody can't sing. But if you can sing, sing. If you can cook, cook. Bake it up. Bring me a dish. If you can dance, dance. Skate. Find ways to express yourself, to validate yourself, because that is really crucial. And then the E is empower yourself. Empower yourself and empower everyone else. But remember, have these mirror conversations. You can look yourself in the mirror and say, I love me. I define me. I got this. Girl, you got this. Guy, you got this. We got this. But also learn to say no. We say yes to way too many things. I know that this may be the year of the yes and we got to get it done, but it's also the year of saying no to those things that are too overwhelming so that your plate is not just filled with a lot of nothingness. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. Mcgee told you there's resources here for our children. Dr. Brandy said there's resources here for our community. Ask for help. Get rid of the negative people. It's okay. Don't look back. They will be fine. But the other thing is seek therapy or a wellness plan that supports you. That empower, see the word there, we. Empower is not an I think, it's a we thing. And we have to get back to community. And so that's it. You're going to own it, reclaim your time, say to the world, I define me. You're a keeper of your journey. Now is the time to define the moment. The self-care tips, again, we're going to be very clear about those because we will make sure that you all practice these things. Meditation is key. If you don't like to do it, there's a lot of apps out there. There's Calm, there's Breathe. There's one specifically for African American, for women of color, called Shine. It gives you all kind of uplifting tips and motivations. I love it. I subscribe to it. There's some free ones out there. Use the free ones. Do it on a regular, consistent basis, because then it becomes a part of your wellness plan. Turn off the news. If you have to, you don't have to watch the 9 o'clock, the 12 o'clock, the 4 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock. You don't have to have it on all the time. You can tune out. I promise you, you'll find out what's happening the moment you cut it back on. Create that playlist again. I told you about that. The playlist that feels good for you, and share it with us, because we want to know. We want to like uplift our music. Connect with your tribe. Who is your tribe? Is it your sorority? Is it your church? Is it your family? Is it your best friend, your accountability partner? If you're like, I don't do people, you know, is it your pets? But connect with someone so that someone can be aware of what's going on with you and you can be aware of what's going on with others. Detox. If it's things that you need to let go of, or you need to have some essential oils in your space. You know, I'm all about wellness. I do the wellness bracelets here and I wear them and I use the essential oils, but I also know it's important to detox and change up our diets and do some spiritual fasting, even if that's necessary. Essential oils, we talked about that. There's plenty of them out there. Find the one that works for you. They all are great. Eucalyptus, we need to breathe. We're wearing masks all the time. Find ways to balance yourself. Let go and let flow. I always say there's people in your life that you need to let go, and then there's people in your life that you want to let flow. But also assess that for yourself. What do I need to let go? What do I need to say no more of this? Like, I might need to quit my job and start that business or that hobby that I loved. Or I need to let go of that relationship. Or I need to let go of this school and find another school or another space. Or let go of that therapist and find a therapist that works for me, or even a hairdresser. Let flow all the good things that are happening. Celebrate those things. Go outside and breathe. Learn who your neighbors are. I always say, you might know the dog, you might know the car, but do you know your neighbors? Check on each other. Take a walk. I've been seeing people I haven't seen in forever because we're going outside to just breathe. And the last thing is seek therapy. You know, I serve women and girls, and I know that, you know, I might not be the best therapist for everybody, but you find the therapist that works for you. Mcgee told you, if the therapist doesn't work for you, then it's not working. So mental health is mental wealth, and you need to know your worth. So find a therapist that works best for you. That's about it. You know, I hope that we covered some things for you. I don't know if it's time for Q&A or we're going to jump right into Catherine, but that's it. And I hope that you guys got some really great tips.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, we are going to jump into our Q&A. So if you have any questions for either one of our dynamic presenters this morning, they all did a fabulous job and we're so grateful for having them. Just put your questions in the chat and they will respond to them. And then we will follow up with that with our mindful yoga experience.
And looking at the comments that are going through on Facebook right now, we don't have a lot of questions, but we've got a lot of praise that's going on. You all are sharing some great knowledge and people are appreciative of it. They are giving high praise for all the information you all are giving them. They want to know, here's a question. Someone is asking, how can they donate to Mcgee's organization, Rise Up for Kids? So how can they do that, Mcgee?
Okay, so Amazon Smile is the way. If you go on Amazon Smile and search up my nonprofit, We Rise Up the number 4 Kids, that should come up. And is there another way? Oh, okay. www.weriseupforkids.org. You can donate there. That's my website. And also Facebook page, We Rise Up for Kids.
Thank you, Mcgee. Amazon Smile and Rise Up for Kids on their website. Another question, someone is asking, are you all taking new patients and what about insurance?
We are taking patients, clients. We don't bill insurance. We are all private pay, but we do have student rates. And you can find out all that information on our Facebook page through Imani Therapy, or you can reach us through www.idefinememovement.com.
And I can add to that, I am not currently in private practice, but if there is someone who needs services, in addition to what Sora Tracy just mentioned, you can always reach out to your local universities. They have discounted rate for therapy or assessment services.
Another question, thank you. Can you go over the I define me statement again, Sora Mcgee? Could you go over the I define me statement again?
If she's speaking about the love principle, it's listen, observe, validate, and empower. And again, the website is idefinememovement.com, and we focus on prevention, intervention, and awareness. So also, if you need our nonprofit program for the Sister Keeper, our girls, we have an online university now that offers virtual and online services. So there's courses that they can take to focus on social emotional learning.
Thank you. Another question, also for you, Tracy, is speak to how to determine which essential oil provides what specific benefits.
There are so many different benefits. It depends on which oils you like. So in our office, we have these cool wellness beads that you literally put the oils on. So you have lemongrass, you have eucalyptus. This one is like anxiety. So there's a lot of different oils that you have to figure out which one works for you. And so if you contact us, we can go over that with you. There's an extensive list, and you can also look them up online.
Thank you. One other question. Can someone share some advice for child and family social workers interested in transitioning to mental health?
I can key in on that. So there are different certificate classes and workshops you can take. They actually offer a lot of free classes through WashU, and I think that's the Brown School of Social Work. So you can continue online learning if you want to bulk up your knowledge base. Other than that, you always have the option of going back to school. So you can pursue a more focused degree in counseling education, or things of that nature.
Tracy, do you have anything you would like to add to that question?
I think that if you would, there's a lot of resources that are online. A lot of people are trying to shift from a different career. And so if you could find someone that's in that field, they'll be able to help you with the courses that you need to take. A lot of times it's different from a MSW versus a MED or LPC, but someone will be able to help you to transition from school to community.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question. So if someone wanted to find some more resources or find resources easily, what do they Google? Like everyone says, go to the Google. What do you Google in order to find what you're looking for, especially when you're looking for therapists or counselors of color? What do you look for?
Well, that is a great question. I love Google, by the way, so I'll add that. But I listed some of those resources. So you can just type in and start with therapy for Black girls or therapy for Black women. So I think that's a good starting point. Now, if you want something more focused in your area, then you just add St. Louis or Missouri or things like that. And then you can go from there. In addition to that, you always call it insurance. If you have an insurance provider, you can always start and maybe get a referral from your physician, or you can call EAP, things like that. And then the next tier would be, there are so many different people in the area that provide free services. The organization that I work with, Bridges to Care and Recovery, and if anybody's interested, you can type it in. They offer 5 free counseling services specifically for individuals who are identified as spiritual and religious, and maybe they have a spiritual issue in addition to a mental health concern. So that's an organization right here in St. Louis, and 5 free counseling sessions is pretty good. So I would just say, go ahead and just start with Google, Lady Google, and then also you can talk to your physician, and I will probably just go from there.
And also the Taraji P. Henson has the Boris L. Henson Foundation, and they also offer like 5 sessions, and they specifically have African-American therapists from all over the world. And so if you put in the state that you're in, then they will be able to serve you. And another thing that I think people don't forget if you say, I don't want a therapist that's right in my community, because everybody knows somebody who knows someone. In the state of Missouri, now that it's virtual, you could also see a therapist from Kansas City or other areas. Because it's virtual, you can see therapists from all over. So that's definitely another resource. We don't have billboards, but we have what I call it women in the neighborhood. Call one of your sister friends and they'll know someone to refer you to.
Thank you. Tracy, this question is for you. Could you state the I define me pledge? So I don't think it's the love statement, but the I define me pledge.
Okay, so it's really important for our girls and our women. We have a wellness mobile now, and every girl and woman can get on that wellness mobile and say the pledge, because it's important that we focus on what we put out into social media. Mcgee talked about bullying. It impacts us all, but we can come together because Sister Keeper is spelled with an A. So we say, I am who I am. I am unique. I am we. I represent unity. I am diversity. A mosaic of people live in me. I am my history, and my story is my legacy. My voice delivers solutions. My mind seeks knowledge, and my spirit flows with purpose. I am inspired. I am empowered. I am naturally me. I reflect positivity. I hold the key to my destiny. It's all about me. I define me. That's it.
I think that's a mic drop moment right there. For sure. Okay. Is there a wait list to get into the classes for your girls for you, Tracy?
You can go online to the I Define Me University and sign your girls up. We also have membership rates for the year. It's really affordable. And if you can't afford it, we can work that out. But all the resources are online, or you can contact us and we'll get you set up. And it's middle school and high school girls, elementary, middle, and high school. Thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions. It's in our comment section as of right now, but continuing to see lots of praise and thanks for the information that you all have shared with you, with our audience today. We have had a captive, at least 80, I've been tracking at least 80 people on here every minute that we've been on. So you all are sharing lots of great information with folks. So thank you all so much. Are there anything, closing statements, Sybil, that they would like to share?
We're just going to rotate right into, thank you so much for all of the questions and staying engaged on this Saturday morning. We truly appreciate your presence. Thank you so much for being engaged. And so now we're going to do a little bit of relaxation and meditation and some stretches. So Catherine, it's on you. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm just blown away by the amount of knowledge that you all have shared, and there were just so many good gems. So I want to segue into our session by just kind of hitting on what I think Soror Peeples talked about. So my journey with yoga began it's been a decade now. And it was really just I think I got like a Groupon for a class and, thought I'll give that a whirl. And what I have found with my practice over the years and than my teaching is yoga is really a tool. It's a tool in a toolkit. It's a tool for self-exploration. So just a way to kind of do some inward looking and figure out what comes up. So I've been in classes, I've taught classes where maybe a certain asana or pose will bring something up, will release something in that has been kind of stuck in your spirit. And then you take that to your other avenues of self-care. You take that to your therapist, or you take that to your spiritual leader, or you take that to your journal. And so what, my goal for this short session is just to give you some tools that you can use at home. If you are new to yoga, if you are an experienced practitioner, or anywhere in between, I find that I'm constantly learning. Every time I teach, every time I take a class, I learn something new. So my goal is to give you some things that you can use. Something I always tell my students is, take the meat, leave the fat. If there are things that don't resonate with you or that are uncomfortable, don't do them. You will not offend me. You will not hurt my feelings. It's really it's about you. And one of the things that Sora Peeples touched on was that generational trauma. And so when we think about stress, when we think about just those everyday stressors, work, kids, family, the world at large, a lot of people know that you carry a lot of that tension in your neck and shoulders. What I have learned, and what I think is really interesting, is that trauma, on the other hand, trauma from birth, trauma from your giving birth, trauma from whatever you've experienced in your life can live in your hips. And so that's something in my classes I try to focus on a lot, is a lot of shoulder openers, back openers, and hip openers. And so if you don't take away anything else, I hope that you take away, as you move through the weeks and the months ahead, if you find yourself feeling just unburdened or burdened or ungrounded, or you're wondering, something is off and I can't really feel it, try some hip openers. See if you can get your hips open and see what it releases. And then again, take that to your therapist, take that to your counselor, take that to your journal, to your spiritual leader, and go from there. So the first thing that I want to do is give you some breathing tools. Breath work is just a really good way of centering yourself, of grounding yourself, of bringing yourself back to something you can control. So much in life we have no control over. We have no control over our past. We really can't control what happened to our ancestors down the line. And, there's a lot we can't control with our future, but we can always come back to our breath. And so in moments that you feel stressed, that you feel uncertain, find your breath and let your breath inform what your next steps should be. So the first breathing technique I want to show you, you might be familiar with it already. It's called box breathing. And it's just, again, a way to kind of bring yourself back to a center when things feel out of control. So from wherever you are, you can do this sitting on a mat like I am. You can do this in your chair. You can do this. I wouldn't advise doing it in the car because you might, lose focus, but pretty much any setting where you're sitting, you can try this one. So from wherever you are, just start to grow your spine. So a nice tall spine, let the shoulders slide away from the ears. So lots of space here. You might find that your shoulders are way up here and you didn't even realize. So take a deep breath, exhale, let the shoulders slide down the back. You can bring your palms to the top of your knees if you're seated in a chair. If you're on the floor, you can bring them beside you. Your legs can come to whatever's comfortable straight out in front of you. You can slide to the front of your chair to give yourself more length in the spine. And then soften your gaze. You can either close your eyes or you can bring the gaze to the tip of your nose, whatever feels comfortable for you. And we'll just do a couple of deep clearing breaths before we get into the box breathing. So a nice deep inhale through the nose. Soft exhale. And take a few breaths like that, nice, deep, smooth breaths. Maybe with each exhale, you let the shoulders relax a little more. You let the spine grow long with each inhale. So your next inhale, we'll inhale for a count of 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath out, 2, 3, 4, and start over. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Last time, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Let your breath go back to normal. Nice smooth inhales, full exhales. Gently blink the eyes open if you've let them close. So again, that technique is called box breathing. I find it helpful in moments where I feel anxious or like just uncertain, just not sure what's going on, but I know something is off. And you can do that for as many rounds as you'd like. Some people really enjoy it. If you found that the holding the breath out or in did not feel so good, you can definitely shorten the count or adjust it accordingly, or you can try a different breathing technique. The second one is very similar in nature. So just if you were to imagine your body as like a vase, like a vessel, where the bottom part of your belly, so like where your diaphragm is, would be the bottom of that vessel. Your lung area where you visualize your lungs will be the mid part, and then your throat will be the very top of the vase. In your mind's eye, you would visualize inhaling very deeply, so feeling that vessel from the belly to the lungs to the throat, and then exhale the same way. Throat, then lungs, then belly. Just another way to slow your breathing down, really be intentional. It takes your mind off of whatever's going on to focus on something. As you inhale, feel the belly expand, maybe even take the palms to the belly. As you exhale, nice, slow, full exhale, expending all of the breath. And again, so this type of breath work, there's a nerve that runs from the base of your head here, the base of your brain, all the way down to your ankles, to your feet. It's called the vagus nerve. So when you take really deep breaths like that, it kind of massages that nerve, and that can take you from a sense of like fight or flight, a sense of anxiety, back to like this very basic, okay, I am safe right here. I'm safe where I am. You know, nothing is coming at me. Nothing is harming me. I can handle this situation. So those are those are 2 techniques that I really like. Again, if those were good for you, feel free to do them. If they were uncomfortable, like leave them where they are. You can also, there are a lot of really cool breathing techniques available on like YouTube if you just Google breath work or breath exercises. And so we'll get into just a very short flow. This is something that you can do right when you wake up in the morning. This is something you can do before bed. Just a couple of stretches to kind of get the muscles loose. So yoga has a twofold benefit. It is both great for your body, for your muscles, if it's a supplement to a workout. And again, it's about kind of self-exploration and focusing your mind on something else other than the things that are kind of racing through there. So again, if they're all of the poses, the cues that I will offer are suggestions. If you don't feel like doing it, that's okay, just don't do it. My feelings will not be hurt. So again, wherever you are, I'm gonna cue up some very soft music in the background. Wherever you are, find a comfortable seat. If you are in a chair, I will try to remember to cue the same poses for if you're in a chair. If it's available to you to get down on the mat or on the floor, you don't need a yoga mat, feel free to do so. So again, come to that nice tall spine. Start to come to your breath. The same kind of deep inhales, soft exhales. Your next inhale, bring the fingertips above you, reach high, nice tall spine, tall arms. Exhale, float the palms back to the mat or chair beside you. Again, inhale, reach. Exhale, palms beside you. Last time, inhale, reach. This time, interlock the fingers, press the palms towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring that shape out in front of you. Flip your palms. Inhale, bring that shape to hover in front of the chest. Exhale, flip the palms, push the arms back out. Inhale, take that shape back up above head. And exhale, back to the mat beside you. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, reach, intertwine the fingers, palms to the ceiling. Exhale, take the shape out in front of you. Flip the palms. Inhale, bring your palms to hover. Exhale, take that shape out. Inhale, reach, and exhale, float the palms to the mat. Inhale, take the right fingertips high above you. Gently grab the opposite side of the head. Exhale, pull. Very gentle pull, not too much. Again, maybe you envision the space between the ear and the shoulder expanding. Take a few deep breaths here. Your next inhale, gently release the neck, reach the fingertips high. Exhale, the palm back beside you. Inhale, take the left fingertips high. Grab the opposite side of the head, very gentle pull as you exhale. And again, here, maybe you envision the space between the shoulder and the ear expanding, releasing. Take note of any differences you feel from left to right. Not assigning judgment, just making a note. Your next inhale, release the neck. Take the fingertips high. Exhale that palm to the mat. From here, take the right palm to the left knee. Left palm comes behind you. If you're seated in a chair, you can even use the chair as leverage. Inhale, deep breath, nice tall spine. Exhale, gaze comes over the left shoulder. Breathe into the twist. With each deep exhale, maybe you twist a little deeper. Maybe you feel something release. Your next inhale, very gently untwist yourself. Stay for the exhale. Take your left palm to the right knee. Right palm comes behind you. Again, if you're seated in a chair, use the chair for leverage if you like. Deep inhale into the belly, tall spine. Exhale, gaze comes over the right shoulder. Again, maybe you notice differences from your left side to your right side. Your next inhale, very gently untwist yourself. From here, you can stretch the legs out long in front of you if you are seated on the mat. If you're still seated in your chair, just bring yourself to the edge of the chair so you can have a nice, tall, nice, long spine. From here, bring your left palm to the mat or to the chair. Inhale, reach the right fingertips high, and exhale, bend over to your left for a side bend. From here, feel free to invite movement. Maybe you inhale the neck one direction. Maybe you exhale the other. Maybe here you wind the shoulder blades out. Whatever feels good in your body, whatever feels good to help wake the spine up, wake the neck up, release some of the tension. See if you can connect your breath with movement. So each time you move, connect it with either an inhale or an exhale. Inhale the right fingertips high. Exhale that palm back beside you. Inhale, take the left fingertips high. Exhale, bend over to your right. Same options here. Maybe you inhale the neck one direction, exhale the other. Maybe you rotate the shoulder. Whatever feels good in your body for your practice. Inhale, reach the fingertips high, and exhale, bring the palm back to the mat. So we'll transition into a very short guided meditation. So make yourself comfortable in your chair, in your mat. If you've got a blanket nearby, whatever you can grab to just get to a very comfortable state. You don't have to keep a long spine, but if that feels good for you, feel free. When you found something comfortable, gently let the eyes close. Stay with your deep breaths. So nice full inhale. Soft open mouth exhale. Sigh it all out. Again, deep inhale. Soft exhale. Sigh it all out. Last time, deep inhale. And sigh it all out. From here, take your intention, take your focus to the top of your head. Visualize your scalp. With a deep exhale, just imagine in your mind's eye the scalp expanding, releasing. Bring the focus to the space between your eyebrows. With a deep exhale, release the tension there. Unfurrow the brow. Bring the focus to your jaw. With a deep exhale, unclench the jaw. Relax the muscles in the face, the ears, maybe the tongue falls to the bottom of the mouth, to the back of the mouth. Bring your attention, bring your mind's eye to your shoulders, your neck. With a deep exhale, release the shoulders, let them slide down the back. Again, maybe you visualize your muscles just relaxing, your body creating space, reaching out into the space around you. Take your attention downward into your palms, your fingertips. With a deep exhale, relax the hands, the thumbs, the fingertips, the wrists. Let the arms grow heavy. Let the weight of the chair, the mat, whatever you're resting on, let it support you. Bring your focus downward. Maybe you visualize the organs in your body expanding. Deep exhale, release the tension in the belly. Release the tension in the upper back, the lower back. Another deep exhale, bring the focus downward, release the tension in the hips, your hamstrings, the fronts of your thighs. Another deep exhale, bring the attention downward, all the way to the bottom of your body, to your feet. With a deep exhale, release the tension in your ankles, your heels, your toes, your calves. Take a few more deep breaths here. Do a full body scan with your mind's eye, head to toe, toe to head. If you notice you are holding on to any tension anywhere in the body, use your deep exhales to release that tension. Maybe your mind focuses on your breath. Maybe your mind focuses on the sounds around you. If it's raining where you are, maybe the sounds of the raindrops. Maybe the sounds of a quiet house. As we close our guided meditation, I invite you to give gratitude to your body for carrying you to this point in time. Give gratitude to yourself for taking time in your day for you. And gratitude to your ancestors who have gotten you to this point. As I bow and say namaste, what I mean is the divine light and teacher in me honors the divine light and teacher in each of you. With a deep inhale, collective exhale. Namaste. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I feel so relaxed.
Good.
And Vera Mcgee, she always asks for an affirmation word, and mine is gratitude. I am so grateful right now. I am grateful to our outstanding Physical and Mental Health Committee, because without them and their recommendations for this presentation, we would not all be gathered here this morning. So I am so grateful to our committee and to my co-chair, bless her heart, she could not be here this morning. She had something to take care of, but her spirit is absolutely with us. So to Shara Harmon, I truly appreciate you. And our panelists, our presenters, phenomenal job. We have tools in our kit for each and every mental health situation, and we would not have those without you presenting them to us this morning. So I want to say thank you very, very much. And our leaders within our illustrious chapter of the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumni Chapter, thank you so much, Erica Moore and Janice Baker. Thank you so much for this opportunity to help our community. You guys are truly, truly appreciated. And Sarah Baker, if you would, share a few words with us before we...
Sure. Thank you. I am so relaxed right now on this Saturday. To all of our presenters, Catherine, Sora Redmond, you said some prevalent things about releasing. I've got to do better about releasing. So thank you for that exercise. Thank you for that. You also mentioned that we don't know what's going to happen. We can't control our future, but I'm thankful that we know who holds our future and who controls our future. So thank you, Sora Redmond, for that. To my other Soras, I'll start with Dr. Peeples, Brandy. I follow Dr. Brandy, I follow Tracy, and I also follow Mighty Mcgee on social media. I follow them also. To our presenters, I love you all. My affirmation word right now is confident. And so everything that I do with confidence, and I do it to the best of my ability. So Mcgee, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm going to love on me. I'm doing better by listening to myself, observing myself, validating myself, and empowering myself. I will not share my song, but if you want to text me, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. I can't put it on here. But it's one of those songs that really gets me moving. So my family knows what it is. So thank you for that. I am so inspired. Dr. Brandy, you really touched on some of those things that I really hadn't thought about. So I really hope our listening audience really listen to all of you. That transgenerational trauma gets us all in trouble. And so what I want to say to our viewers is make sure that you break the cycle. Speak up, speak out, get the help that's needed, talk to someone, and I'm going to do better about checking on my friends when I see something. I'm going to do better. I got to get better. People check on me, and I got to get better about checking on others. What is that statement? Check on your strong friends. We talked about being strong Black women. I understand it now. I understand it better now, and I'm going to do better with that. And that transgenerational trauma, we talked about the complex trauma. Oh my God, and we've had some historical trauma. so I understand it. I'm going to do some more around those topics, and I hope you ladies will come back again so we can continue this conversation. This can't be a one and done conversation. We can't address everything right now. To my mighty, magnificent Mickey, my Delta niece, baby, I love you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm going to find a way to support you. Just know that Auntie loves you, and I appreciate you and your mom sharing your story. To the audience, to Erica and Sybil, and even Cheryl, who couldn't be here today, thank you so much for putting this much needed conversation together. I'm going to stop there because I could keep talking forever. And so I'm going to say again, thank you to the listening audience for this important conversation. Don't let it be the last. Talk to your family members, talk to your friends about it. Again, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.